Let us now talk about making the churn definition operational. By operational, what I mean is that having a churn definition which takes into account the different types of customer behavior as well as the business requirements as well as the operational constraints. So let's delve deeper into that. So the first question we need to address is whether we need to consider soft attrition, and it depends on the business and an evaluation whether soft attrition can happen here or not. In most cases, there is need to consider soft attrition, and then there might be a practical question also. Can we effectively measure soft attrition and given the data and the infrastructure? And if it cannot be done, then that might be a phase two of your project. But as a first phase, you just focus on hard attrition. The next thing is, what is the preferred horizon over which business would like to predict churn? And it varies from with the customer type and the life stage. You know, you might want who is likely to churn over the next few months, the next few days, the next few weeks, over the next year. It depends on the type of contracts you have, where the customer is on the contract, but uh, it is something you need to consider and bake into your definition. So when you do the actual model and you define these churn variables, whether it will be something like likelihood to churn over the next week or likelihood to churn over the next month or the next quarter, something like that, it has to be well defined. And then what is the time needed to implement a strategy? And see, you are doing this churn model because you want to understand who is likely to churn in the future. The future being defined as a time horizon. Why are you doing this? You're doing this so that you can take some preventive action and prevent the churn. And so the question becomes, how much time do you need to put a strategy together and implement it for this customer? So for example, if you want to know who is likely to churn over the next week, but because of your operational and programming constraints, you end up only with a plan which becomes operational in 10 days. So then predicting who's likely to uh, churn over the next week is not very useful. Then maybe you should predict who is likely to churn in the next 2 weeks. And so the reality of time needed to implement a retention strategy is very important. And then uh, the final question is, do some of these parameters differ versus for the different types of customers you have? And we touched on that when we talked about the horizon, but it could be true also for your strategy. It also could be true for whether you can consider hard attrition or so versus soft attrition. Maybe for your more mature customers with longer history and more data, some greater finesse might be possible in terms of considering these different options versus your not so mature customers. And um, all of this needs to be thought through well before you embark on your actual analytics journey of predicting customer churn, because that's what will define how your models are built and how successful your models are.